welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Turn the Page. I'm your host today, Jen, and today I am joined by a prolific and renowned writer of romance of all sorts of stripes. I am so excited to discuss this new book. It is one of well over 120 books. It is an extraordinarily impressive career, and I am so excited to have this conversation. So welcome. Could I ask you to introduce yourself and your book, please?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Jayne Krentz, also known as Jayne Castle, also known as Amanda Quick, but we won't go there. That's a whole other problem. And the book is The Shop on Hidden Lane, which is out this January
Yes.
in the library now as we speak.
It's such a fun read. I am having such a good time with it. And before we get to the book itself, I'd love to know about what drew you to the romance genre, especially romantic suspense. Where did your interest begin?
Well, I grew up on Nancy Drew, so I think I was probably always doomed to write romantic suspense, and that's always what I've written. There's always been a mystery plot. I find it difficult to plot without a murder.
Mm.
It's kind of the bane of my existence. Yep, another murder coming up. But I love the romantic mystery because I love the way the relationship evolves in lockstep with the mystery plot. Every twist in the mystery affects the relationship, and every twist in the relationship affects the mystery. And I love that dynamic. I think it's unique. I think romantic suspense is its own thing. It's not a mystery with a little love interest on the side. It's not a romance with a little mystery on the side. It truly is its own subgenre, I think. And then I like to hit it with a psychic vibe, which is my personal thing. I love the intimacy that you can get when you're writing with a psychic vibe. I love that extra layer of bonding, that extra layer of knowing. And it also allows me to plot those murders um, without and solve the crimes without having to resort to forensics. I don't have to learn about DNA. I don't have to learn about all the fancy ways they solve real crimes because it allows me to go back to what they call in the business the amateur sleuth. And the amateur sleuth comes to us from Sherlock Holmes. That's our archetype, I guess you would say, wherein the crime is actually solved from intuition and observation. And the intuition for me works because my psychic vibe takes my characters just one step beyond intuition. And this is probably a good time for me to separate out from the paranormal crowd because in the romance world and in the romantasy world, paranormal has its own definition and it usually involves the supernatural, magic, dragons, werewolves, witches, that kind of thing. And I don't do that kind of paranormal. I love to read it, but it's not my core story. I don't write it. So I kind of specify that I'm doing my woo-woo factor is a psychic factor, which as I said, for me is like one step beyond intuition. And I think most people think they have intuition, so hopefully they can get into the story with me.
I do love the layer of complexity that having a psychic involved also adds to romance, because so much of romance is about what you reveal and when and why. And when you have a psychic, that all gets really complicated. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I find my core story, and I always get a chance to say this one way or another. I think every author has a core story, and it's not the fictional landscape. It's not the romance. It's not the suspense. It's not the fantasy. It's not the mystery, whatever element of the genre of fiction that you're writing. It's the emotional themes that you find yourself coming back to again and again. And that is your core story. And as a public service announcement, I will just say if there are any aspiring writers out there, I can tell you from experience that it pays to figure out what your core story is, because once you do, you'll realize you're not trapped in a certain fictional universe. You don't have to do vampires. You can take that story anywhere.
Mm.
because it's not about vampires. It's about the emotional bonds that are created between the two characters. And that's your core story. And so for me, my core story, and I can look back all the way to the beginning of my career, um, issues of the huge risk of trust that human beings take, and we take it every day. There's no option. We have to learn how to deal with the trust, and it can do some real damage. And reinvention. My characters are always in a situation where they're reinventing themselves. They're entrepreneurial, so to speak. They're at some turning point in their life and they're having to make some big changes. So trust and reinvention are at the heart of pretty much every romantic mystery I write. As I said, I did grow up on Nancy Drew. I fell in love with Andre Norton. I don't know if that's her books are still in the library, but and then Anne McCaffrey,
Mm.
who gave us dragons.
That's true.
And somehow it all melded together. And what I really lean toward is Gothic. And that's the books, those are the books I seek out now to read. And I pull on the Gothic elements when I write. I love that story.
Nice. Me too. And I love the way that the Gothic lets you play with, the blurry distinction sometimes between reality and
Yes.
the absence of reality, which again, like with the psychic vibe, it gives you like another sort of factor there. With that said, could you tell us a little bit about our protagonists, Sophie and Luke, and what went into shaping their characters?
Well, these are two people who have grown up with a psychic vibe, and they're aware of it because it kind of runs in the family, in the bloodlines on both sides. But these two families have been feuding for 4 generations. There was a big falling out between their great grandfathers, and things have never been the same since. However, 4 generations ago, those two grandfathers made a pact. They vowed to protect the secrets of a clandestine government project that was experimenting with the paranormal. The project was shut down, but the secrets keep resurfacing because there were discoveries made. And these two families did make a pact to protect a very important, a very dangerous secret that they had discovered. And now, after 4 generations, that secret has been stolen, and people are dying. People are getting wiped out, uh, killed. And so our hero and heroine are forced to work together to find recover the secret and save the people who have been kidnapped. So that's which is happens to be their aunt and their uncle, which they find out. She finds out that her aunt has been sleeping with his uncle, and she's shocked because he's a Wells, and Harpers do not cohabitate with Wells. And here's her aunt and uncle. They've been having an affair for years. So, so after Sophie recovers from the shock of finding out that their aunt and uncle are sleeping together, she and the hero set out to solve the problem. And they really don't know if they can trust each other, but they know for sure they can't trust anyone else around them. And that forces them to have to trust each other to solve the crime. And
Mm.
it takes them to a mysterious art colony where strange things are happening under the surface. And there's a dog. I would like to point out there's a dog.
Bruce, I love Bruce.
Bruce the dog, yes.
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic because it's like two different flavors of forced proximity. Like
Oh,
they are physically forced together because they are solving this issue or trying to find answers together, but also that family history creates a sort of like, I don't know, symbolic or like abstract forced proximities that
yeah.
there's all this history that they can't ignore. Speaking of that history, I'd love to know about maybe your approach to, I don't know if world building is the right word, but I know that this is a standalone novel, but that it also does tie in with some of the other books that you have written through references to the Foundation and the Bluestone Project. How do you balance the needs of a standalone story and the needs of one that is fitting into a larger universe? How do you speak to the old readers and the new at the same time?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I just hope I can do it. When I write my futuristics, I put a little note up front in the stories that kind of gives a brief history of the planet and the characters and the fact that they're all descended from Earth colonists 200 years ago that landed on the planet. So there's kind of a little capsule history at the front of those books. And then the story doesn't demand that they know all that, all the details of their stories. It's because they are standalones. But so far, there has not been too much of a problem with the contemporaries. And I think it's because you don't have to know every detail in order to get it. And then if you're curious about it, you can read one of the other books in the universe and you'll get more detail on that story. So at the end of the books, I usually put a little note about if you want to know more about so and so, try these titles and kind of guide like that. But otherwise, I expect the books to stand on their own. And I haven't really had a lot of blowback from readers that it doesn't work. You tell me, you're the one at the front lines.
It does work.
Are readers coming to the desk asking for help deciphering the world?
Yeah. Well, it's nice for us because it's easy to take that pressure off of like, you could start wherever you like, and you're going to have it's going to provide you with an entry point, and maybe it will highlight, different areas that a different book would, where you can kind of enter into this shared universe, but it's accessible and enticing at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'd love to know more about your approach to romantic tension, because in any romance of any stripe, there's like this rope that you have to keep taut between the characters, right? Between the things that are like pushing them together and the things that are pulling them apart. So I'd love to know about how you create romantic tension and how that like relates to how you build your characters, maybe.
My relationships are always built on the development of mutual respect and trust between the two characters. Those elements have to come first before they can acknowledge that what they're feeling is more than just physical attraction. They do make that distinction. And so the trust and the mutual respect give them the foundation, I guess you would say, to build a more intense relationship. There is physical attraction because that's kind of how romance works, but it doesn't go anywhere without these other elements becoming important. And that's very important to me because my characters are never the most beautiful woman in the world, never the handsomest guy on the SEAL force, It's because that's not what's going to hold them together for the next 50 years. If I make it a marriage, it's got to have something else going for it. So those are the elements that I'm pulling on. And usually the beginning element is the trust. Is he on my side or not? Or is she on my side or not? There's the element of can I trust her to have my back? Because that's kind of how they usually are thrown together. And once they realize that they can trust each other in that level, then other kinds of trust can develop. This is the man who would have your back in a bar fight,
Yeah. Yeah.
assuming you were the sort of woman who got into bar fights, which my characters always seem to get into that, to get into trouble. So I'm pulling on the trust element, and then the second element that I find myself going back to again and again, I guess you would say, is whether or not you're falling in love for the wrong reason, that you're grateful perhaps to the other person. He just saved my life. She just saved mine. I love her.
Yeah.
But that's going to be 5 minutes too, that kind of thank you. That's the end of that. So the next fear they always have is this real love or is this just proximity and gratitude and mutual attraction? I really want some depth to the relationship.
Mm.
Real life, that's what we're looking for. So
Absolutely. And that's great for, the suspense genre too, for romantic suspense, because you constantly have these really high stakes that are going to make knowing how you feel about a person very, very difficult. So,
yeah, the problem with plotting with a heavy suspense plot is that things move quickly. You don't have a lot of downtime for the characters to get to know each other in some other way. They're not dating, they're trying to stay alive. And so my books tend to take place over a very short period of time. Um, but the intensity of the danger intensifies the relation. It makes the relationship happen or become explicit more quickly, I think.
You mentioned the art colony that they are drawn to in the course of their investigation. And, I don't want you to reveal anything that you don't want revealed yet, so I'm going to ask this question very broadly. Um, but I'm curious about what went into shaping that environment. It's such an interesting, any art colony is going to be like a really interesting ecosystem, like really ripe
Exactly.
for anthropological research, it seems like. What went into shaping yours here?
Well, that plus the fact that the art is the art of light, very actual, artifact or artistic objects that are depend on light to make them work, which I think is a very interesting aspect of art, turning light into art. It just kind of became a fascinating subject. You know how it is as a librarian, when you get into
Yeah.
get below the surface. Oh, that's kind of cool. Um, so the art of light fits very well with the paranormal element because light spans the spectrum and goes beyond the visual. I mean, animals and little insects can see light that we don't see. So there is light outside obviously, and there's wavelengths, radio waves and stuff like that that you can't see. So the energy is out there. um, I if I like light for that reason because it's easy to visualize it going into the invisible zone. Um, I also like music. Music kind of fascinates me because to me it's an obvious psychic experience.
Mm,
And I say that because if you think about it, you're you're not physically being touched by anything, and yet music has the ability to absolutely change your mood. It can make you sad, it can depress you, it can make you feel patriotic, it can make you feel like dancing, it can make you sad, it can make you happy. It's just a million different reactions to it, and yet that's all happening with sound waves, not anything you can physically touch. And I like to use that as an example of how when I say there is such a thing as paranormal energies that have not yet been discovered, that would be an example of how it could exist out there in the real world. So,
mm,
and how many times have we said to each other, I don't really want to be around him or her. She brings me down.
mhm.
What is that? But some kind of energy, vampire.
Yeah.
And they do. We all know people like that. Or the people who make you kind of revved up. So there's all kinds of energy out there, and that's what I'm using. And that's why I say it's not the supernatural element because my characters aren't going to live forever,
Mm,
unfortunately. But this is real world biology in that sense.
yeah. And I think that looking at this sort of psychic ability next to that type of like a very abstract, almost intangible art, the way that like the manipulation of light or music is, I think it allows you to play with, I don't know, like it adds a sort of like, this might be a little cheesy, but like a little bit of miraculousness to just the experience of emotion and a connection with another person, I think. Like just the idea of these
Yeah.
invisible forces sort of acting on us in a way that like we think science lets us understand, but we don't really.
No,
Yeah.
we don't. No. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the emotional side is affected by so many things. Humans are affected by so many things, and a lot of those forces we can't see or measure. And the psychic thing, I mean, there's a reason that the US, sort of a reason, that the US government and the Soviets back in the day and the British poured millions, God knows how much, into serious paranormal research, especially in the latter half of the 20th century. And who knows
Mhm.
if it's still going on because it's the CIA. They're not going to tell us. Um, but we're not talking about a couple of off-the-wall experiments. We're talking about whole programs that were designed to try to create psychic spies, psychic weapons. And so it's always been close enough to the surface of reality that, people have traditionally taken it seriously. Major universities got involved in some of this research. Um, Scientific institutes got involved with it. I mean, it was not woo-woo to them.
Yeah,
They didn't want to blow it off until they knew for sure. And for all we know, they're still experimenting.
absolutely. I think there are all sorts of manifestations of human will that we don't understand and maybe won't, maybe won't ever, but they're very interesting to explore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, people don't understand relationships. They develop that we can see them, we can experience them, but we don't understand how they work. It's to this day, yeah, that's and that's one of the reasons I like bringing a dog or a creature or a little animal into the story. Hence Bruce in this one. I think that looking at an looking at another kind of being, an animal, and realizing it has a lot of the same emotions that you do, or the same needs and the same reactions to situations that you do, allows us to kind of know our place in the world, if you know what I mean. We're not totally unique.
Mm,
We're
mm.
part of the whole ecosystem on Earth, and animals are part of this, and they illuminate us in ways that we probably would not see each other if we didn't know animals, if we didn't communicate with animals.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think they show us different sides of the people that we know or we think we know. Very early on, there's like a very sweet moment where Luke is kind of jealous that Bruce Bruce has decided to spend the night with Sophie instead of him. And, and it was very cute and very human for Luke too.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed that scene. That's, it's just dogs are just different and the same.
Yep. Yeah, they really are.
I think the secret with dogs is that they really are psychic, um, and they read us pretty well.
Mhm.
They're very good at reading us, better than we are at reading them.
Truly, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. Wow. So I know that you are, you're incredibly prolific, so you're probably always writing, but are you working on something right now?
I am. The next book out for me will be, that's going to be out usually in May, sometimes early June. And it's another one of my Jayne Krentz writing as Jane Castle books, which makes it a futuristic setting. It's still romantic suspense, but it's got a real futuristic vibe to it. And dust bunnies. For those readers, I have learned the hard way that I cannot do a book without, in that series, I can't write a book without a dust bunny in it. And they're for those who have never experienced, these are not real dust bunnies. These are actual little animals that are kind of like the perfect animal companion.
Oh.
They're your buddy, and they're cute until they're not. And the saying is that by the time you see the teeth, it's too late.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly interesting. It sounds very cute and very dangerous. So,
Exactly.
well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and our listeners. I'm so excited to share this book with our patrons.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited. I hope they enjoy it and give them my best and happy holiday season to them and to you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you to you as well. And listeners, you've just heard your homework. Please check out the shop on Hidden Lane. By the time that you hear this, it'll be out in the world, so you can head to your favorite bookstore or library or website, wherever you like to go for books.
Yeah.
All right, it is time to close this chapter. We'll see you next time, everyone.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.